Kickoff starts now.
Just looking at the offseason moves, the Bears had to make a choice between Danny Trevathan and Nick Kwiatkowski, and they ended up signing Danny Trevathan, the older and more injury-prone player, and let go of and didn't re-sign Nick Kwiatkowski.
Well, older and more injury-prone, but he's also a better player. I mean,
yeah, but they re-signed Kevin Pierre. They didn't re-sign Kevin Pierre-Louis, and they didn't re-sign Aaron Lynch. So, do you think that the Bears should have signed Danny Trevathan or Nick Kwiatkowski? And do you think that the Bears should have went for Robert Quinn, or do you think that they should have went to go get depth? Because right now, their outside linebacker and middle linebacker, their starters are pretty injury-prone players, and their depth is not amazing right now. So do you think it was the right decision to sign Robert and to sign all these players?
Yeah, wait. I'm gonna take this one at a time. Was your first question about were you asking me like, should the Bears have cut Danny Trevathan, or what was the thing about?
They could have signed either Danny Trevathan or Nick Kwiatkowski, and they signed Danny Trevathan. Do you think that was the right choice, the wrong choice?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this short. Nick Kwiatkowski's a pretty good player, and Danny Trevathan is injury prone and maybe somewhat of a dirty player. I mean, I just that hit on Devontae Adams. I like that play. I mean, sorry, I don't like that play. I just like to refer to it. Anyway, I think Trevathan's a better player. Kwiatkowski was good though, but he doesn't exhibit the raw talent that an elite MLB or a guy like Trevathan would have. You want to make a comment, or should I just move on here?
No, I was going to say the same thing. I think that Danny Trevathan versus Nick Kwiatkowski. Nick Kwiatkowski is a player who you've seen his ceiling. I don't think he has an incredibly high ceiling. He's not a player with elite athleticism. He's not a fast player. He's a player that he plays really hard and plays his best. But what you saw last year, you're not going to get any better than that. And Danny Trevathan is a player.
Well, why do you think that a guy like Leonard Floyd? I mean, Leonard Floyd, of course, was picked higher, but what do you see in Leonard Floyd that you don't see in – I know it's two different positions and stuff like that.
He has the speed. He has the athleticism. The difference between them is that Leonard Floyd has the skills. He was just not able to put them together. Nick Kwiatkowski doesn't have the skills. He was just able to put them together.
He was just able to use what he had?
Exactly.
Right. So basically you're saying Kwiatkowski was playing up to his potential? Well, Leonard Floyd – Kwiatkowski was punching up to his weight or a little over his weight while
it's Trubisky versus Foles.
Again, it's always Trubisky versus Foles with you, man.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be everything comparison with that.
It
always makes sense. Okay.
Because Nick Kwiatkowski is like Foles. Kwiatkowski is able to use his skill and he plays his hardest. Well, Trubisky compared to Floyd, Trubisky has all the skills. He's just not able to put them together.
All right, fine. I won't contest you on that. The next question was just about should they have focused on depth rather than big-name players, correct?
Yeah.
That is an interesting question because I think that you can say a few things about it. I mean, I was not significantly sad about the Bears losing Kevin Pierre-Louis and Aaron Lynch because I don't think they contributed a whole lot in the past few years. But with that said, when you look at it like from a whole, you realize how depleted the Bears' secondary linebackers are, the ones who aren't Robert Quinn and Danny Trevathan and Khalil Mack. You realize how much they do need those secondary players, I guess you could say, or the depth, basically. So that makes me wonder, should they, instead of getting a big name Robert Quinn, should they have focused on depth? But I don't think that they should have because, and I think you'll agree with this based on what you say in a lot of episodes about winning now. This is something that comes up in a lot of our episodes. The Bears are focused on winning now, and if they had got a lot of depth players, it might have satisfied the rest of the NFL. But understanding this Bears team is knowing that they have all this talent and they need to win in the next few years. So bringing in a guy like Robert Quinn is what's going to take him to the next level, whereas signing a bunch of no-name depth players might help them in 10 years, but that's not what they're trying to do.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is that if you put two really good defenses together, obviously the skill players will really show themselves, but the depth is really what matters a lot. Now, I still think that the Bears were correct in signing Robert Quinn rather than signing other depth players, but I'm not saying that it's not a concern because I think that you look at the 85 Bears. The 85 Bears had players, Pro Bowl players, on their bench.
Mhm.
They had defensive tackles. They had safeties, cornerbacks, linebackers. On their defense, they had so many good players that they could have had their players to sit out, be injured no matter what, and another player could have stepped in and played at a Pro Bowl level. Not only because there were so many good players on that team that every single player is elevated, but because they had so much depth and they had so much skill. Now, obviously, you can't ask for skill and depth. You have to be such a good general manager. You have to have an
Right,
amazing.
you can't, and not every general manager can do what they did in '85.
But all I'm going to say is that the lack of depth is a concern, and I think that they need to fix that, especially considering they have Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn, which, for example, like cornerbacks and safeties, depth is important, but it's not essential because
Yeah,
those
every player.
play 100 snaps, 100% of the snaps, while outside linebackers play 80% of the snaps. So what are the other 20% going to be? Is that Isaiah Irving? Is that Barkevius Mingo? These
No,
are
but
all
also something that makes it a lot more concerning is that I think every player, every starting player on this Bears defensive line and linebackers have been injured at some point, and recently too. Robert Quinn gets injured a lot, as I've said like 10 times this episode. I don't know why. Khalil Mack was injured
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, with that little thing. That wasn't a big deal, but still, he's been injured. Roquan has been injured, correct?
Yeah, he got injured last year.
Yeah. Trevathan. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but Akeem Hicks, I guess I am going to go through the whole list. Anyway, all of the Bears starters have been injured, and that's if none of them have been injured, then it wouldn't be such a concern. But taking into account how little depth they have, plus the fact that it is pretty likely that at least one of the players gets injured at some point, that's a concern because while it is good, while Pace is really throwing all his chips on the table in this time, I think you still do need some depth.
Yeah.
Because even if you're trying to win now, you have to count on that players will get injured.
So I'm not going to say I'm not worried, but last year, for example, they signed Kevin Pierre-Louis not late in the season, but right before the season started. And I think that the Bears understand the need to sign a backup outside linebacker and a backup middle linebacker, and I have faith that they will. But I just really hope it's a player like, for example, Aaron Lynch. He's a good backup outside linebacker. The thing is that the Bears didn't want to re-sign him because he didn't produce enough for the Bears to be paying him the amount that they wanted to pay him.
How much were they paying him?
They're at $4 million, I think, somewhere around there. I don't know if I could be wrong, but I don't think it was a ridiculous amount.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the Bears they need a player like him they can get for cheap, who has potential and all of that, who can step in and play well. And Aaron Lynch just couldn't do that for them, which is unfortunate because in 2018 he was very, very promising. And I really hope that the Bears, who have, I would say, solid depth at defensive end, they can be able to move some of their players to outside linebacker. They can be able to utilize their depth at defensive line
and
to
switch it into the lack of depth. I think they could go from defensive end to linebacker, but defensive end to middle linebacker might be tough.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
Because middle linebacker is a complete it's a whole new role.
Exactly. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.